Welcome back to another video. Today we'll be taking a look at all of this vintage Coleco equipment. So in today's video, I've got all of this untested Coleco equipment that I've acquired from various sources over the past year and a half. Now, until I started doing some research ahead of making this video, I didn't know a ton about Coleco or ColecoVision or the Coleco Atom. I'm not sure that I've ever actually used one in person. And like I said, I haven't ever turned any of these on. But I do want to go through and see what works and perhaps be able to fix anything here that isn't working. But before we get into powering things on, let's talk about what I have here in the first place. So, I'm definitely not an expert in anything Coleco, but I've done some research, I've watched other people's videos, so hopefully I know enough to be able to get these things to function, and we can explore these together and perhaps learn about them together as we go. So, let's talk about what we have here. So the first thing we want to talk about is the ColecoVision itself. So this is the ColecoVision. So the ColecoVision was released on January 1st, 1982, which makes it now just over 43 years old. So the ColecoVision was actually a pretty popular console. Coleco sold a good number of these prior to the video game crash that happened later on. But this was a pretty common system you would find in people's homes. So looking at this device itself, we have the cartridge slot where the games go. Let's pull the game out here. So like a lot of consoles at the time, games just plugged into the top. You have power switch for it, on and off, and you have the reset button. On the front, you have this expansion module interface. When Coleco released this, they promised to have a full upgrade for it later on to help sell the units, to say, like, you buy the ColecoVision today, and then in a year or 2 years, we're going to release some more really cool stuff for it. I think they even talked about releasing a computer to go with it. But, when it initially shipped, it was just a video game console. This is what you got. All right, so around the side, there's nothing really of note on either side. And on the back we have a 4-pin power connector, RF out, and then the channel selector. So with these old consoles, with TVs at the time, not really typically having composite jacks, these would output an RF signal either on channel 3 or channel 4. So, many contemporary consoles did the same thing. The 2600 would do RF out. Later, the Nintendo would do RF out. So that's pretty standard. And then we have in here, these are where the two controllers would go. You can see that there's a embossed controller icon here. And then the ports for those are just tucked inside under here. So unfortunately, I don't have the original controllers for this. I suspect I could pick them up, but hopefully I won't need them. And we'll talk about what I do have in a little bit. But yeah, this is it. This is the basic ColecoVision. It's just a very simple console. So now what Coleco did later is they released this. So this is what they called the ColecoVision Atom family computer system. And this is the memory console, also known as expansion module number 3. So what this is this is the computer portion that could be added to your ColecoVision to make it turn into more of a computer. Like something to compete with a Commodore 64 or an Apple II. I think the goal was to have, a computer that could play games, but could also be used for doing your taxes or writing spreadsheets or, drafting legal documents. So there was a built-in word processor when this would boot up. You could also play your standard games on it. Now, since this is the expansion, this requires to have the original ColecoVision to be able to use it. So while there is a whole computer in here, if you don't have it hooked up to the ColecoVision through the expansion port, then it's not going to work. So now you bought this in 1982, 1983 comes around, you buy the expansion, you hook these together like this, and then with this sort of monstrosity, now you have a whole computer. So if you wanted to do your word processing, you could just boot it up without a cartridge, or if you wanted to play a game, you pop a cartridge in, and then you can play your game. So these two worked in tandem, but at the same time, Coleco also released a standalone unit. So this is the Atom, the ColecoVision family computer system, but this is the all-in-one unit. So again, we have our tape drive here. Now, I didn't research the tapes a ton because I don't have any, but I think it didn't take a standard cassette size. I think it might have had a special proprietary cassette size, but I'm not 100% sure about that, so don't quote me. So this machine takes both of these and puts them into one box. So here we have the place for our games. So we can pop the game in, and now if we booted this up, we could play this game directly on this computer. So this was sold to people who did not already own a ColecoVision. And if you take a look at what's on here, we have the same kind of setup on the back. We have our channel selector, our RF out. Now, we also have a monitor port and an aux video port. So this supported multiple video options out. I don't know too much about the aux video. I suspect this is probably like Chroma and Luma out. And for monitor, that might be composite, but again, I'm not too sure about that. I might be able to test that out later. If we look on the side, we can see that the controller ports have been moved outside of the case and are now on the outside of the machine. We still have our expansion connector here, and the door for this one's a little wonky, but that's okay. So this looks to be the same expansion that would have been on the original system. So you could put multiple different devices on this, and this is like a bus, and you can connect multiple things to it, which is my understanding of how it works. So I think there was other various devices you could plug into this, or you could plug into the original system, because the expansion bus is present on the side of the non-standalone unit as well. So the expansion bus is used to connect to the ColecoVision, but also connecting on to other things as well. And then on this side, we have our power connector. Now this is the same power connector that is on the unit that connects to the ColecoVision, and it also is an interface to the printer. So Coleco, in all their wisdom, decided that this entire system, or this entire system if you were using the combined one, would be powered through the printer. So if you don't have the printer, you're kind of out of luck for powering things, unless you do some sort of hacky things for it. And well, I do have a printer here. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm also prepared for the possibility that the printer doesn't work. So this is a power supply I picked up from Amazon that allows you to put out multiple voltages, because this requires, I don't remember, I'd have to look it up. Anyway, this power supply can do it. There's also aftermarket power supplies that can plug directly into this, so you don't need the printer. But if you have the printer, that's probably going to be the best way to power this device. So hopefully we don't need this, but we do have it in case we do need to provide some external power, not from the printer. And that decision by Coleco, I guess, is unfortunate for we modern day vintage machine collectors, because a lot of people, when they're saving things to, not throw out, they'll typically save the computer, maybe they'll save the monitor, but they'll throw out the keyboard, they'll throw out the mouse, they'll throw out the printer. And you find that a lot with, like, even a Macintosh Plus. Like, a lot of people have a Mac Plus, but they don't have the keyboard for it, they don't have the mouse for it. So, like, today, if you wanted to go out and buy a Mac Plus, you can get a Mac Plus for fairly cheap. But to get the keyboard and the mouse for it, those are much more expensive because they're much more rare. As somebody who's, cleaning up, you think, like, well, keyboard's a keyboard, why would I save this one? I'm just going to save the Mac Plus. Same thing with the Coleco. Like, I've got the computer, I don't need to save the printer, I'm never going to print from this thing again. So you toss the printer in the trash, you put the Coleco Atom in your attic, and then 43 years later you pull it out and you can't use it. So a bit of an unfortunate decision, but Coleco made a lot of unfortunate decisions with this system in general, as we'll talk about in a bit. So we also have the ColecoVision keyboard. I believe this is a foam and foil style keyboard, though I'm not 100% sure on that. I haven't looked up what it is, but it feels like a foam and foil. Hopefully it works. If not, I've got some replacement foam and foils, if that is the case. It could be membrane, I guess. I don't know. Pry one of these keys off and take a look, maybe. But anyway, we have the keyboard. It connects into the front of the system through a RJ11 connector. This one, the clip is broken off, as probably happens to all of these connectors at some point. But the cable's still there. That's what's important, because I don't know if it's a wired straight through or if it's got some sort of cross in it or something. Just looking at it, it does not appear to be a straight through wire. So it's probably good that we have the original cable, so that we don't have to make a new one of our own. All right. So what else do we have? So we have this. So like I said, I don't have the original controllers, but I do have this, which appears to be made by Coleco. So I think this is an official first-party product, and this is a replacement controller for the controllers that would have shipped with either of these devices. So we've got our joystick, we have our 12 buttons, we have our dial, and we also have the 4 trigger buttons here. So I don't know if this is going to be easier to use, but I have read that the original controllers were a huge pain in the butt, and this may be an upgrade. It does appear to at least be a first party and not third party, so it's not hopefully a little brother remote. Hopefully it is not, it is an upgrade, but we'll find out, ideally, if things work. And then perhaps most importantly, I do have the printer here. I've also got a bag of various plastics that came with one of these. I don't know what this goes to or what it's for, even if this goes with this stuff or not, but this was with it, so might be doing some reconstruction on something at some point. But the printer, let's set this stuff down here to the side for now. So this printer is a daisy wheel style printer. A daisy wheel is, there's a wheel down here that has all of the characters this machine supports on it, and it will turn the daisy wheel to the correct letter and then strike it to put ink from the ribbon onto the page. Now the ribbon here in this case is ripped and no longer good, so the ink cartridge needs to be replaced if we wanted to print, but I'm not super interested in printing. I really just want this thing to hopefully provide power to these systems and see if they work. This one is cracked. It looks like something was dropped on it at some point, or maybe it was dropped, but it's not in the best shape. It's a little dusty inside. But again, if it powers on and can power the machine, that's really all I'm interested in using it for at this point. And then I picked up a couple of games for these from a local game store. I'm really lucky that we have some really nice local game stores around me that actually do have a huge selection of vintage games. So I've got Pit Stop, and what's interesting is it says for ColecoVision and Atom. I'm not sure if there were games made for the Atom that wouldn't work on a standard ColecoVision. I don't think that's the case, but they did denote on this one that it would work in either, perhaps to remove some doubt or confusion in consumers' minds. We've also got Smurf, we got Frogger, and then we have Zaxxon by Sega. And with Zaxxon, I actually have the instructions with it too, which is pretty cool. So, if any of this stuff works, hopefully we can try out a game or two today. That's ideal. So let's set these to the side too. So now, Coleco had a huge problem when this came out in 1983. A lot of them just didn't work from the factory. I read stories about people online opening these things up Christmas Day 1983, and they would just be DOA. Or they would work for 20 minutes and then turn off and never turn back on. By some accounts, some people had swapped out 6 or 7 Coleco Atoms to get a working one, and by the time things were all said and done. And it just got a reputation of being super unreliable. So hopefully any models that survived through today did not have factory defects that we need to try to troubleshoot. It's hard enough trying to fix things that broke somewhere in the past 43 years. You know, if a capacitor has gone bad or an IC has failed, we can deal with that kind of stuff. But troubleshooting factory issues that are 43 years old is going to be much more difficult. So hopefully somebody didn't buy this in 1983, give it to their kid for Christmas. It didn't work, and they said, screw it. Threw it in the attic, and now it's here on my bench. So hopefully this machine did work at some point. Ideally, it still works now, but I guess there's really only one way to find out. We'll need to plug it in and give it a test. So let me rearrange a couple things, get a TV, and then we will try to power this stuff on. All right, so I've got a 13-inch Zenith here. This TV only has RF in, so let's go ahead and get this guy on. So the cable that comes out of the Atom here ends up somewhere. Here it is. So it's got an RCA style connector, but to get to this TV, we need the coax style connector. So I've got a bit of a messy contraption here. I've got an RCA splitter and an RCA to coax converter. So I can plug the converter in, and then I can plug the other end into here. Now this leaves this, which could be problematic if there's any interference. It's going to pick it up. You see, just moving it around causes some interference, but it should work. I've used this before, so I'm not too worried about it. It's not exactly an elegant solution to this problem. There are more direct ways to do it, but that is what I have on hand. All right, so I've got TVs ready to go. Let's plug the printer in next, but not plug it into the Atom. It is currently switched off. All right, so it's switched off. It's not plugged into the Atom. Let's switch it on and see if anything explodes. No, it's moving the carriage back to the home position. And it spun the daisy wheel back to home, and it looks like it advanced one line here. So I think that's a really good sign. That means the printer probably is functional in the sense that it actually could print if we had a ribbon. And the power supply seems to be working. So let's switch it off. Okay, now we can plug in our power from our printer to our computer. Which, this is crazy. We plug our keyboard in. In the event it works, we want to be able to type. All right, so it's my understanding that when you boot this machine up, if it works, you should be taken into like a word processor where you can do some basic file editing. So let's go ahead and turn it on and see what we get. Channel is set to 3. The machine's set to 3. Let's see what we got here. Hopefully it doesn't explode. Okay. Well, that is a really good sign. So it's booted up into what is calling Atom's electronic typewriter. Looks like we can set margins, tabs, and a release. The power light's on the keyboard, which means that at least the keyboard is partially working. That's a good sign. Okay, let's just see if we can type anything. Well, that's interesting. When I type, the printer is typing. I guess that's what they mean by electronic typewriter. So it's just really turns the system into a typewriter. If I hit delete, does it go back? Where's delete on here? Undo? Oh, backspace. It does. Okay, well that's interesting because I thought that this would have been like a word processor where you could do electronic Word documents, but this is actually just making this machine a typewriter where it's just everything I type immediately goes to the printer. Which is pretty freaking cool. I had no idea. That's actually really awesome. Geez, now I feel like I need to get an ink ribbon for this thing if that's possible, or try to restore this one. I had no idea. I did not read that anywhere. Surprising to me. Alright, cool. Well, yeah, it seems like things are working here. So if I hit V, that allows me to set the margin, the line spacing, and V I? Is that what that is? I don't know. Or is that Shift V? 4 is up. So we're double spacing, 3 spacing. That's actually really cool. And VI is done. Huh. Okay, well that's cool. Let's turn it off. Right, so let's plug this controller in. Alright, let's pop a game in. Let's start with Frogger. Oh, and one more thing. I don't know if I talked about this. I don't think I did. There's actually 2 reset switches on here. There's a reset switch for the computer and a reset switch for the cartridge. So that makes me wonder if the computer and the ColecoVision hardware are still like very separate inside. I think probably they are based on that. So I think with the other system where there's the 2 pieces conjoined together, it's the same thing going on in here, just at a smaller level. That's interesting. Okay, let's power this on and see if we can actually boot up Frogger. No, we did not. Still not. So if I do reset for the cartridge, turn game off before inserting cartridge or expansion module. So it's not reading the cartridge, I believe is what that means. But it does appear that it's trying to boot up to the ColecoVision side here. So let's turn it off. Let's try some deoxid. See if we just have like a contact oxidation issue. I'm gonna push that in and pull it out a couple times. All right. See what we get now. Looks like still not. So we hit reset again. Oh, there we go. So it was just some oxidation there on the contacts. I'm not sure if it's supposed to boot up automatically off the cartridge if it detects it. I thought it was, but it didn't seem like it did. Let's turn the volume up here a little bit. Not really hearing anything. I have no idea how to do anything here. Oh, and these keys are really sticky on this remote. Well, something changed. I changed it to 2-player somehow. There we go. 1 is 1-player, 2 is 2-player. 1. How do you suppose you start it? Yeah, that turns music on and off. 5 is no music. 6 is music. There we go. Alright, well this is very classic Frogger. I gotta say I don't hate this remote. Let's turn this down a little. For this, I mean, it's kind of nice when you think about using like an Atari 2600 where it had the square remote and the stick. You had to be able to hold the square remote somehow and then also move it, and your whole hand would move. This actually seems like it's quite a bit easier to use than a 2600 remote. I don't hate it. Of course, that's just using the joystick, but alright. Let's power this off. Interesting. I wanted to pop in... Well, let's see if all these games work. Let's go with the Smurfs next. Smurf Rescue. I think we need to hit a button, or is it stuck? There we go. To select game option, press button on keypad. 1 equals skill 1, 1 player. I presume skill 1 is easier. Okay, so I can jump, I can move. Oh no, I ran into a fence and died. The arch enemy of Smurfs everywhere is a fence. Oh! Well, I can see why this would be like Pitfall, but Smurfs edition. It's interesting how the music slows down when it changes screens. And interesting how I can never jump over that second fence. Or the first fence. Alright. I think I'm out of lives finally. Yeah, I'm at 0. Okay. Well, it works. It takes a little practice to get good at it. The music's nice though. I like the music. Alright. Pit stop. Let it boot up. Reset the cartridge. There we go. Select number of drivers. 1. Yes. 1 rookie. Number of laps. Single race. Monaco. Oh, let's see how I go with the defaults. Alright. Do I have... Alright, so the bottom button on the remote, my pinky, makes me speed up. I don't think I have brakes, other than just letting off the throttle. Alright, this is a fairly simple, fairly standard racing game. It seems like it's challenging, but not too challenging in a rookie. I mean, yeah, I'm smashing into everybody, but not bad for my first time playing it, right? Okay, well, this game seems to work just fine. I can see myself spending hours playing this as a kid. I played a lot of Rad Racer on Nintendo as a kid. It was one of my favorite games. And I was never that good at it, but I still played it quite a bit. Alright, cool. well, pit stop seems to work. So that leaves us with one more game to try, Zaxxon by Sega. So, let's see what it says here. Cartridge instructions. Game description. Coleco's Zaxxon, a stunning 3D space game, takes you across alien asteroid fortresses. The evil robot Zaxxon and its fierce armies have conquered a once free asteroid belt. Your mission is to stop them before they enslave the galaxy. Approach the asteroids, pass the barrier wall, and then dive your fighter low over the enemy surface. You must evade enemy fire from turrets, mobots, and base missiles as you search for the robot warrior. But if you fly too high, a missile homes in on your fighter. At the asteroid's end, pull up to fly over treacherous force field walls. It goes on about that. It shows how to insert it into a ColecoVision, not into an Atom. But it's pretty self-explanatory. There is showing you how to use the original controller, which I don't have. Altitude indicator, fighter, remaining fuel, fortress wall, blah, blah, blah. 90-day limited warranty. I think we're well past that. 1982. Yeah, we're a little past the 90-day warranty. All right, let's see if it works. Hey, that's interesting. This time it did boot up directly into the cartridge, but the cartridge is not working. I don't know if you can hear it. It's just kind of stuck. So, you know what that means. Time for some deoxit. And we'll do the same trick here. In and out a couple times. Alright, well now it didn't boot off the cartridge, but we'll hit reset. Alright, presents Sega's Zaxxon. Do I need to hit a button? No. Oh, same thing. The screen looks familiar. 1. Alright. How did it say I could shoot? I could go up. Looks like I can just fly. I don't necessarily have shooting. I think I'm just meant to avoid obstacles. Oh, there's checkpoints even. Oh, that's cool. Alright, for 1982, this game seems quite polished. This is really cool. I'm gonna fly over here. Go up. If you go up too high, you get shot, it said, so. Come back down. That's kind of cool how the ship you're flying is very smooth, but the screen chunks at you. Chunk. Alright, can I shoot? Oh, I have like a targeting thing now. Is that good? I don't know how to shoot. Oh, we're right at the checkpoint again. Okay. I don't know if I can shoot. I don't know what button it is. I didn't read that in the book. Looks like you got like a targeting sensor though. Alright, I'll need to read more about this. But look how clear the screen is. This is just really nice. This machine works super well, which is honestly quite a surprise, given its age and given the history of these things. So I think we've tested everything out with this one. Let's move over and test out the other system. See if we get similar results. Alright, so for this system, where you have the add-on, The computer itself doesn't have video out. You're still getting video out from the ColecoVision itself directly. So let's plug this in here. I think that's a good connection. So what's really interesting about this is that I'm going to throw on the other side. So we're using the ColecoVision as video out. We're using ColecoVision for the controller, but we still need to use the Atom to get power in from the printer. Now I read that if you have both of these plugged in at the same time, so if you have the native ColecoVision power supply and the Atom power supply plugged in, it doesn't work. You can only use the Atom power supply, which is interesting. And then the controller ports are obviously only here as well. We do still have a keyboard. Alright, well I think we are good to test it out. Let's hit the power switch and see what happens. Well, we have power on the keyboard. So power is getting through. If I hit reset here, I get flashing screen. Let's pop a game in and see if anything happens. We'll just type on here first, yeah. So getting nothing if I type the keys. And we get a nice black screen with the cartridge in there. Let's try some deoxide on this one. Yeah, nothing here. So it does appear that it's trying to do something. So you definitely get a different screen when there's no cartridge because there's some static on here. So it's probably video coming from the Atom coming back to the ColecoVision. And then when we put a cartridge in, we get a blue screen now. That's different. Just a black screen with like almost no static, so it's like the video is coming from here and not the Atom. So I think there is something broken with this one. Something's wrong here. You know what? Let's try some deoxide on this expansion connector. Who knows if that thing is in need of some repair or not. We'll just plug this in a couple of times. Alright, let's plug power back in. And let's see what we got. It's different. We still have the power light on the keyboard. I'll take this out. So now we're getting a nice black screen with no cartridge in there, which we weren't before. But alright, I think something's wrong somewhere in here. I'm not sure if it's with the ColecoVision or the Atom. Unfortunately, I don't have the original power supply for the ColecoVision, so we'll need to wire something up to that. and attempt to do a repair there. Alright, so I've got the standalone Atom hooked back up, and just playing a little bit of Frogger here. So, yeah, I don't really know now, other than the electronic typewriter that we saw where it just prints directly to the printer, what we can do with a Coleco Atom. I don't know about what sort of productivity applications we can run. I don't know if those came on cartridges or how we load those or if those are tapes only. But that's definitely something I want to explore a little bit more. In doing research, I did see that there are some modern storage replacements for these machines. I think it was either SD cards or compact flash cards you can connect into these. There's a ton of opportunities with the expansion ports on these things. And then, of course, we do need to figure out which of these is the problem and ideally repair it. So yeah, I think I want to do another video about just more of the Coleco Atom, how it works, what we can do with it, and I'd like to have a video about repairing that one as well. But I gotta say that I'm very pleasantly surprised that, for the most part, this system just worked. You know, we've got games playing on it, which is kind of like what you want to do with it anyway. But I mean, we could do that with just the ColecoVision if this worked and I had the power supply for it. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this video. So definitely stay tuned. We want to do some more exploring with this whole sort of system in general. I'm pretty intrigued by it, having never used it before. It does seem like it's something that would be really fun to get a little more knowledge about and just become a little more knowledgeable about the ecosystem and the vintage community in general with Coleco Atom, since I haven't really interacted with, I don't think, anybody that has talked about having a ColecoVision or a Coleco Atom. I did actually see one of these at VCF Midwest this year. It was hooked up because when I was out there I was looking for a printer, because at that point I only had the computer and the keyboard for it. I didn't have any games, I didn't have a controller, I didn't have the printer. So I was hoping to find a printer so I didn't have to use the modern power supply, because, you know, kind of painful. It's nice to use the real deal stuff. But I only saw one out there with all the different booths and tables and everybody that was set up. To only see one ColecoVision Atom running was, I guess, a bit surprising. But like I said, it wasn't very well received. They didn't make a ton of them because they couldn't sell them, because they had the unfortunate labeling as just being unreliable. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm glad this one still works, and I'm looking forward to getting to know it just a little bit better. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and we will catch you in the next video.
Hi guys! Make sure to like and subscribe, and watch more of our videos later. Bye!